Louis Riddick, one of the best in the business from ESPN, back here on the Rich Eisen Show. How you doing, Louis?
Rich, what's up, man? A little bit of news going on today?
Here I was getting ready to talk about the remarkable Florida Atlantic Owl run to start the program.
Yeah, man.
How are your brackets?
Timing is everything, as they say, right? It looks like Lamar hit that out the park today, man.
Oh, my goodness gracious me, oh, my. Your brackets, I assume, are destroyed like mine, too, right, Louis?
I don't even talk about the tournament because I'm not really a part of it right now. I haven't been a part of it since, the second round. When I started making bad picks. It's been brutal, dude. It's been brutal.
So I guess let's just jump right into it, Louis Riddick, sir. When you saw that tweet today, what did you think of when you saw that tweet today?
Look, Lamar's dug in. He's dug in, and I understand it. I really do. I've been saying for maybe about the past year, see, this really does come down to one thing. I mean, to two things, right? Lamar acting as his own agent. What's an agent's job? To maximize cash to the player in a negotiation. What's the job of the team president, the general manager, contract negotiator? Do the best deal that minimizes risk to the club. And now we have a standoff. Okay? Lamar wants to maximize cash to himself. What is the comparable he's using? I know people don't want to talk about it, but some people do. Deshaun Watson looms. Okay?
There's no question about that.
Out there.
There's no question about that, Louis. I mean, without a doubt. And just one second here, if you don't mind me just jumping in here.
I'm sorry.
Back here on the Rich Eisen Show terrestrial radio outfit, Louis Riddick of ESPN is here. We already started talking a couple of minutes to him. But you mentioned the Deshaun Watson deal, and there's no question that's looming over this right now.
Uh-huh.
Right?
Yep. It's he is looking at that and saying, listen, I'm not responsible for negotiating that contract, no matter how much the other 31 owners hate it. No matter how much the other 31 owners want to say that's an outlier. That's Jimmy Haslam. That's the Browns, Browning, whatever you want to call it. That's them doing their thing. He's saying, look, it's there, it's done, it's in writing, it's been executed, and this guy can't touch me as a player. That's his opinion. And that would be many other people's opinions. And on top of it, I have nothing in my background that would pose any risk to you in the way it will pose risk to them in terms of my behavior or the way I've conducted myself. So why can't I use that? Why can't I use that as a comparable? Now, there may have been, you hear rumors about there being offers about how much has been offered to him in terms of guarantee, but we don't know what kind of structure it's been. We don't know what the payout is going to look like, what the cash flow is going to look like. We don't know any of that, and none of that's leaking. Why? Because there's no agent to leak it to all the people who agents like to leak stuff to. Okay? And we know that because that's how the business works. Agents tell insiders stuff. Insiders tell us stuff. That's how we feel like we're on the inside. That's the way the business works. And so we don't know. So Lamar is looking at this going, okay, you know what? I've done everything I can for you. I know you constructed an organization and an offense around me and my skill set when I came out of school. I'm trying to evolve. You want me to involve. You got rid of Greg Roman. Todd Monken's in there. You want to take this offense to the next level? I want to take my game to the next level. I'd like to have some more weapons, too. So you go and get me Nelson Aguilar. That's it, huh? That's what it is? That's where we're at now? Now, there's going to be some people who go, Lamar's not that good of a passer. I don't care what you put around him. I don't care how you construct the offense.
That's
he
crazy.
is what he is. He's a running back playing quarterback. All that BS that you hear out there, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Well, he's looking at it one way. The team clearly is going to hedge their bets because they're going to worry about how do we minimize risk to the club, given how he plays, how he has gotten injured the past couple of years. We're not comfortable with that. So we have an old-fashioned standoff. There's a number of different things going on here. But his timing today was clearly a response to all the things that are floating out there that he's feeling as though probably aren't coming from him. But the team may be leaking things to people and putting their side out there. And he's saying, you know what, here's my response. And I'm going to release my response right at the same time that my head coach is talking at the owners' meetings. So take that. Now I've requested a trade March 2nd. I want to get the hell out of here. Send me somewhere else. This is going to get hotter and hotter and hotter as the summer moves on. Because if you listen to the people who know Lamar the best, Rich, they say he's a man of principle. And when he gets dug in on something, he's dug in. And, wow, I mean, Coach Harbaugh says, you know what? This is fluid. This is fluid. Things can change. I have a feeling this is all going to work out, whatever. I think he said something to that effect down there at the owners' meeting.
Yeah. And
well,
all I can say to that is, for everything that you just said, Lewis, is that this kind of be like a chicken and the egg situation in terms of building a roster. If he's saying, all you're getting me is Nelson Aguilar, huh? And the answer could be like, why would Odell go there if Lamar's not there? That's a perfect example. Why would DeAndre Hopkins try and maneuver his impending trade to Baltimore if Lamar's not there? So
right. There's so many moving parts.
Right, and so I don't know how that will improve the situation. The only thing that can improve, if you will, the situation for him is if another team feels that Eric DeCosta no longer has the leverage because Lamar has now made it public. He has no intention of returning there. Right. Then maybe somebody reaches out to try and make a deal. Otherwise, the standoff will come down to Lamar saying, "I'm just refuse to play for you. Enjoy Tyler Huntley. I'll just sit out and make no dollars and no cents." And that's it. That's the way it's going to come down to it. Is the way I see it. Right?
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. We're going to see how principled he is and how dug in he's in. I wouldn't bet against him. I wouldn't bet against his desire to prove his point and to stand firm and stand on his ground. And I had a feeling last year that it was going to come down to this simply because of that contract, simply because of what Deshaun got. And, it's such a, I just saw a tweet, Rich, that J.J. Watt put out. I don't know if it was today or it was a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
Where he said, why are there so many teams so willing to be so public and loud about the fact that they're out on Lamar Jackson? Why is that? He said, mid-20s player, MVP, prime of his career. Why are people so willing to say that they don't want him? Like teams. Like, why is that information getting out there? He goes, am I missing something? And when I read that in that context, just a few minutes before we came on air here, I was like, yeah, like, why is that? Why does there seem to be this? And look, I'm not one for conspiracy theories, man. I don't get into that crap. But why does there seem to be like this weird willingness to be so open about the fact that we don't want Lamar Jackson, or we're not interested in Lamar Jackson? Why is that? That's just bizarre to me. This situation is very, very disappointing, and it's unfortunate. And I think that a lot of the disappointment arises out of the fact that we don't really have a lot of the facts. I mean, we really, for all intents and purposes, are only getting information from one side of this, through the avenues that information comes out via, through the team side, and we're not getting really his story about it in a way that traditionally we get the player side via agents, as I talked about earlier. And we're left to kind of like try and put this whole thing together. Like, what's the gap? What's the divide? Like, what truly is the situation here as to why we can't arrive at, for lack of a better word, fair value? Because there's always the best deals in the NFL are the ones where the player feels as though he didn't necessarily get everything and that he wants, but he's happy with it, he can live with it, and the team feels as though, look, we didn't necessarily get the best deal for us to minimize our risk, but we're happy with it because we love the player and we want the player.
Lewis,
we can't even arrive at that.
Right.
I mean, we can't even arrive at that. Now the guy wants out of there. So what the hell is going on?
Well, if I could answer that to the best of my ability, Louis Riddick here on the Rich Eisen Show, is that the reason why teams were, if you will, more public than normal is because they had the entire, in the same way that you were pointing out, the reason why we don't know so much about Lamar's contractual situation is he doesn't have an agent, and the agents are the ones who call the terrific insiders in our business, who then report to all of us what they're hearing. That all those insiders went to every single team immediately, and so many of them were willing to respond on the spot. We're not interested in Lamar. And part of the reason why is twofold. One is that contract by Watson is so widely reviled that nobody wants to be the second one in. Certainly when that contract was given to somebody with 24 accusations of some of the most heinous behavior, okay? And so they don't want to be the second one in. because with this silly escrow rule, they got to cut some fat check on the spot. And then there's the other aspect that's going to, I think, count against Lamar to get somebody in on him at this stage of the season is you gotta change a lot of things around. And that's not because he's not equipped, right? It's because he is so equipped uniquely that you have to change things around. And you also then have to go to your team's owner and say, hey, you want to cut a $200 million check? What do you think? And I don't know if many general managers want to do that. And you put it all together. That's the way I'm reading that, Lewis.
Let me hit those things that you said.
Please.
One, when it comes to the teams, Rich, could very easily, when people are asking them if they're interested, they don't have to say no. You could, if you were hypothetically interested, but you can't comment on it because he's not being represented by an agent, so you can't, you don't want to make any comment.
No, I know, but doesn't that immediately alienate whoever you've been telling for weeks? Where you're the guy. We can't wait to give you the opportunity. You're going to get the reps. Get ready. I mean, I understand Desmond Ridder is not a veteran who's you're afraid to alienate him, but
but all you have to say is we're not interested. Not interested. All you have to say is can't comment on players that are under contract to other teams.
Got it.
We're not going to comment on players on other teams at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Teams say it all the time.
Belichick did today.
On other teams' players.
Belichick did today when Lamar was brought up to him, and it was pointed out he's technically a free agent.
There you go.
Right.
See, that's what I'm saying. I'm not going to comment on other teams' players, and that leaves you all kinds of wiggle room. And that contract negotiators, general managers, owners want wiggle room all the time.
Yep.
I didn't say I wasn't interested. I didn't say I was interested. I just said I can't comment, and I'm not going to comment. That's all they had to say. You don't have to come out and say no. You know what I mean? That was my only point. As far as changing around an offense for Lamar, if you go back to his tape during his time at Louisville, some of Lamar's best football was played in a pro style of offense when he was there. A true 3-5-7 step under center, shotgun mix, move him outside the pocket, the same kind of things that you see, the Rams play, that you see the 49ers play, that you see the Jets play. He was someone who can execute that kind of offense to the point where I don't feel as though it would be a situation where they would have to make wholesale changes in order to fit him in and upset philosophically everything that they believe in at these places, like in particular that could potentially be interested. Like, let's just say a place like Washington. I don't think you need to do that. I don't think it needs to be a situation where you're upsetting an apple cart and starting over from scratch and having to remake the roster. As a matter of fact, I think, quite honestly, that's the kind of offense that Lamar would love to go into, to where he doesn't have to be a guy who's a primary ball carrier and someone who doesn't have to live out there on the perimeter taking shots all the time and run the zone read over and over and over again and quarterback powers over and over again, but could run a more traditional style offense. That's why they brought Todd Monken in there in the first place into Baltimore. They wanted to get away from that stuff. They want, because it's going to increase the efficiency of the offense in terms of its run and pass. Two, it's going to attract other players to want to come to this offense, especially at the wide receiver position, because they're going to say, hey, look, we're going to get more targets. We're going to get more balls thrown our way. It's going to be a more traditional passing offense on first and second down, in addition to third down. So, yeah, I'm more interested in coming there. And three, I think this is what Lamar wants anyway. I think this is something that he would say, look, this is going to add to my longevity and my availability in this league, and going to help me get to where I ultimately want to go, which is to a Super Bowl. So I quite honestly think that kind of reasoning would be more of an excuse for teams to throw out there to say as to why they're not interested in him. But I think it's really a reason why you would want to bring him in there, because he does want to be a part of this kind of structure, and he has flourished in it during his time at Louisville in college. So I disagree with that a little.
No, it makes and that's part of the reason why I love chopping it up with you, Lewis. And so I guess then my follow up to that would be if the Ravens, Harbaugh played the same music. I said he was one of the greatest frontmen since Mick Jagger, with what he's doing right now. Talking about they love him, and obviously you just said that they got an offensive coordinator in that can help everything out. and if the Ravens would love to have him back.
Right.
And so maybe he realizes that. I don't know, or he insists on getting traded. So let me ask you these two questions to pivot off of that.
Sure.
First things first is, which teams do you think should come out and go for it and do it and figure out this Rubik's Cube in the manner that the Ravens couldn't? That maybe Lamar gives them an idea of what he said no to and what the Ravens were causing him to say no to, and they can figure it out. Which teams do you think should go for it?
Yeah, unfortunately, I believe Atlanta has already said no. But that would be absolutely freaking perfect. I mean, the system that Arthur runs down there, Arthur Smith, is perfect for Lamar. Oh, my God. It's perfect. A run-centric – now, I'm not talking quarterback run-centric. A running back run-centric, 12 personnel, 13 personnel on first and second down, multiple tight ends. I mean, I think people know, what we're talking about here. 2 tight ends, 2 wide receivers, 3 tight ends, 1 wide receiver, where they love to smash the football, get the quarterback out on the perimeter off of play action, easy throws over the middle, deep shots down the outside because you're pounding people, getting 8 people in the box, getting one-on-one coverage. That's and then when you need him to maybe say, hey, look, I need you to give us some of that magic now. So now we're going to run quarterback boot, we're going to run a keeper, and we're going to need you to take off. Now we're going to run quarterback power down here on the goal line like Ryan Tannehill used to do when Arthur Smith was calling plays in Tennessee, and we're going to be the most deadliest offense in the red zone in the NFL with you because we add that extra component of your legs to the game plan. Are you kidding? He'd be perfect there. But they're not interested. Washington. Look at the weapons that are in Washington.
No doubt. No doubt.
I mean, the guys on the perimeter, Lamar is like saying, why can't I have some of that? Why can't I have some of those guys?
Right.
Something like a Terry McLaurin. Why can't I have, that kind of person to be able to, in Jahan Dotson, I'm just sitting here, I'm drawing a blank on the names.
Samuel, all of them, man.
Why can't I have those kind of dudes?
Fast.
And why can't we construct a run-heavy 12, 13, 11 personnel, even regular 21 personnel type of offense to where Lamar's under center.
They got Robinson Jr.
Gun.
Oh, yeah, Robinson Jr. and the rest of that team. I love those ideas. It's just that you're going to need, I think, Arthur Blank to go in. We had Thomas Dimitroff on the other day, Lewis, and he's like, his read of the situation was there used to be a guy there who put him in cap hell, and they're just out of it, referring to himself, and that they kind of, dig that they're not on the hook for a gajillion dollars to a quarterback, and that they're finally through that. And he thought it was Arthur Smith saying essentially, let's just stick with the plan. That will require Arthur Blank to come in a room and say, we're changing pace. Let's call the Ravens today, everybody.
Yeah, you're right. And I get that. I get that business part of it, Rich. And I'll tell you what, and you touched on this already. It's not so much what it makes you do from a cap standpoint, because there's some really, really smart guys that are in charge of keeping teams cap compliant that can figure out how to keep you cap compliant and still allow you to add materially to your roster every year. There's teams that are doing it every year that we sit there and go, how the hell are they doing that? This is a cash flow issue. That's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about putting a large amount of money into escrow and saying, hey, look, we're good for it. We're good for this money that we're guaranteeing this young man. And, I can totally get with Dimitroff's assertion that the owners aren't really that
keen on that.
Saying, hey, look, I'm going to write that check for $200 million.
You're scratch it.
Yeah, I'm good for it.
I'll scratch it.
Yeah, exactly. So I get that part of it.
Right.
And there may be some owners who say, I don't have it. I'm not doing it. I can't do it even if I wanted to do it. So, this Deshaun Watson thing has truly it has truly thrown a monkey wrench into everything. And I'll tell you what, too. I'm sure there are people going, well, you know what? I'm sure there are teams right now that have some franchise quarterbacks coming up for contract negotiations or renegotiations and extensions going. Man, I damn sure hope Baltimore doesn't cave, because can you just only imagine what the next contract will look like for Joe Burrow?
Well, I mean, and maybe that's what the Ravens are waiting on too. Is Burrow go first, Herbert go first? Those two guys. Let's see what contracts they accept compared to what the Browns are going to accept, and then maybe somebody can backfill with Lamar, or that will help read the market for Lamar. I have 2 minutes left. What do you think DeCosta does? What's his plan? What do you think he's doing?
I think there's definitely. I think there has to be discussion about, how do we move him? How could we move him? I mean, there has to be. Because right now, look, they're trying to implement a new system, right? They're trying to change their offense around a little, have it be a little bit more conventional, a little bit more, use of traditional personnel, have the structure of it look a lot more conventional as far as the quarterback and his responsibilities are concerned. And they need to get going with that. The longer it takes here in the offseason, whether it's Lamar being your quarterback or them trying to figure out who the next guy is going to be and acquiring him, the more this puts you behind the 8 ball as this kind of like lingers out there. You have to get going on business. And I know I'm one of the people who say all the time, we don't play games until September. But look, time is ticking. It's almost April. The draft is only a couple weeks away. And I'll see you down there in Kansas City, by the way. And look, it's time to get going. You can't have this kind of thing just hovering over this organization. So I think if I'm Eric DeCosta, if I'm Ozzie Newsome, if I'm Steve Bisciotti, if I'm Coach Harbaugh, I'm sitting there going, okay, look, man, we may need to start thinking, look, this is just not going to work. What, can we recoup what we deem to be fair value in terms of compensation for him, and can we move him on his way? Because they know him better than anybody. They know if he's bluffing or if he's serious about the fact he wants to get out of there.
Lewis, you're the best, man. I appreciate it, and I'm so appreciative of you being on after such a big story breaks that did dominate. I have so many other questions for you, so hope you don't mind if I ask you to come back sooner rather than later. I appreciate it.
I'll be there. I'm there for you, dude.
Appreciate that, Lewis.
I appreciate you bringing me on.
Always. You're the best. That's Louis Riddick of ESPN right here on The Rich Eisen Show. Catch The Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.